Hey, how you doing? I hope you're having a great week so far. This week I wanted to talk about how to combat self-sabotage and how to know if it's working. So I totally get it. If you deal with self-sabotage on a daily basis, I definitely do too. Look, after this, I'm going to be doing a taekwondo class. I haven't done taekwondo in 7 years and I am freaking out. And all through today, I've had that niggling voice in the back of my head that's like, maybe you're not ready, maybe you should just cancel, maybe you should just, I don't know, like do nothing like you've been doing for ages. But I'm pushing through, and these are the ways that I'm pushing through, and this is how I know that pushing through works long term. Before I go into this, I just want to say, if you enjoy this video and if you find that you are also self-sabotaging on a regular basis, and if you find that these are pretty useful, do click the like button, it helps me out massively. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel where I post content every week that hopefully is of use to you. The first thing is acknowledge when you are being self-destructive and self-sabotaging. If you're feeling that voice in your head, it's so easy to get into believing that it's right, believing what it's saying is the truth. And before you know, you've talked yourself out of doing something completely. So the first thing is to acknowledge that it isn't actually true, it's just this voice in your head. And by doing that, then look for a solution. So what do you need to do to kind of get yourself past this little hurdle of this voice in your mind? Do you need to get up? Do you need to kind of walk around the block, or does it come about when you're feeling tired? So maybe you need a little nap, or if you're feeling just a little bit down in the dumps and you know that that can become self-sabotaging for you for whatever you're wanting to do, then maybe like speak to a friend or family member just to kind of perk you back up and give you some oxytocin. Look for the solution. So acknowledge what's going on and then instantly become solution mindset so that you can do a little U-turn and not give power to the self-sabotaging voice in your head. Forgive yourself if you ever do find yourself self-sabotaging. If you've talked yourself out of doing something and you're feeling really horrible and down and depressed and just pissed off that you really wanted to do it and you regret not doing it, be kind to yourself. Understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we're looking for progress, not perfection. This is something, one day you're going to be at it, you're going to be feeling good and you're going to go for it. And other days you might not. There are things that are constantly giving us a harder time, such as our hormones, and sometimes we let the self-sabotaging voice win. That's okay. It's called being human. We don't always feel like a-okay to do everything, but the main thing is to forgive yourself when that does happen, because when you don't forgive yourself and you're hard on yourself after, it creates a pressure, and that pressure builds and builds and builds, and before you know it, you talk yourself out of doing something that you once really enjoyed. You've instantly created it as like a chore, so it feels like a chore and you no longer want to do it. And taekwondo for me was a great example. I did that years ago. I enjoyed it at the time until I started to put a lot of pressure on myself having to go to all these classes, and in the end I just didn't go. I quit. I felt bad, I regretted quitting, but I made it feel like a chore and I didn't enjoy it anymore because I put this pressure on myself. So if you find yourself doing it, relieve the pressure and forgive yourself, knowing that it is a marathon, not a sprint. Next thing is write down your values. Put it somewhere close to you. Like I put it in the side, I've got a drawer on the side of my bed, and if I need that little perk up, if I know I'm going to do something that day that's going to make that self-sabotaging voice pop up and try and talk me out of it, then I'll look at my list of values. I've also put it in the notes on my phone so it's easy for me to check, and it just means that when that self-sabotaging voice comes along, it helps me to stay clear of self-destructive actions, because I know that what I'm going to do aligns with my values. It makes me feel good, and that is the objective goal. I want to feel good by doing these things, and I know that, I've got a track record of every time I talk myself out of doing something I want to do, I feel bad. So I'm not looking to feel bad, I'm looking to feel good, and they align with my values. So I'm going to go with that. Next one is stepping up to whatever it is that you want to do. If you know that you enjoy it, you know that even though you're a bit scared or apprehensive, on the whole, it's something that you want to do, then step up to it, understanding that any outcome is absolutely fine. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being, the best that you can possibly be this time. The outcome has to be amazing or nothing at all. No, because we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for progress, and progress is taking that first step. So me, for example, after this, yeah, I am afraid that I'm going to get into Taekwondo and be like, oh my God, I can't remember anything. It's been 7 years and I got to start from scratch. But also, it's a great opportunity for me because I know that I've missed it so much. I've regretted not going. And, it's so easy for me to instantly think about where I could be with Taekwondo if I didn't give it up. But I'm like, you know what? That's what happened at the time. This is what's happening at this time now. And I'm just going to have some fun. I'm going to be proud of myself for going. I'm going to work up a sweat and I'm just going to go with it. It's a new experience. It's a new opportunity for me to grow. And that's all it has to be. Acknowledging that what we say is to ourselves isn't necessarily the truth. So it's so easy for us when we're looking in the mirror or we feel low about ourselves or an action that we did and we don't feel great about it. It's so easy for us to say things like, we're not worthy, we're unworthy of having the body that we want or the skin that we want or the life that we want, the goals, we're not worthy of achieving these goals. But it doesn't actually mean that we're not worthy. It doesn't mean that we are not allowed to have these things. It's just that our mind is so easy to tell us that we're not, and that puts us off from doing it. It keeps us in that bubble because that bubble is safe. It saves us from disappointment. But you know what, it actually welcomes disappointment every time, because we always feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied and unfulfilled and disappointed that we didn't do the things we wanted to do just because we were trying to stop ourselves from feeling disappointed. So how to know if these are working? Because as you push forward and you do the things that originally self-sabotaging voice would have told you not to do, then you'll start to feel different, right? And that's when you know that it's working. That's when you're starting to think, you know what, the cogs are turning. I'm getting around this hurdle that usually would hold me back. So let's go. Let's figure out the signs to look out for so that you can congratulate yourself when you notice them. So you start to lose interest in comfortable things that once, say you wanted to go for a run or do a dance class, but instead you decided to watch TV instead, and the whole time you didn't really enjoy the TV show you're watching because the back of your mind you were thinking about, well, I should be doing this and I'm not doing it and I'm disappointed with myself. So the more that you push through and actually do the things that you wanted to do, the less you are interested in hanging back and doing things like that just are comfortable. They're not giving you that oxytocin or that dopamine in your brain, that serotonin. They're not pumping you up and you're not feeling that great about yourself when you do those things. The more that you do things that give you that rush of chemicals in the brain and make you feel good about yourself, it literally is addictive to the brain. So you're going to want to do them more. That also applies to people that you hang out with. So as you grow, as you develop, you'll lose interest in hanging out with people that are just not on that journey with you. And I know it can be disappointing, it can be quite sad sometimes when you notice that. And I have definitely noticed that within my life. And yeah, it's not great, but you have to realize that when you go up a level, when you start to live the life that you're wanting to live and you're starting to feel real proud of yourself, not everybody wants that, and some people will try to bring you down just because they are not comfortable in doing the same yet. But you know what? That is their problem to sort out. That's not for you. You'll start to see challenges as opportunities to grow. So you'll start to feel like, okay, this is a challenge, and usually I would run away and hide and I wouldn't want this to affect me. I'm just going to play it safe. I'm just going to avoid this completely. But as you start to grow and you start to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you'll start to accept challenges and walk towards them, gravitate towards them, because you'll have a positive outlook and optimism into turning it into an opportunity. You find that you can't make a positive outcome per se, then it will also be a great opportunity to strengthen your boundaries that you're creating within yourself. Again, that can be with people in your life, or I don't know, work commitments or whatever it is. It's a great opportunity to strengthen what you will do and what you won't do which again align with your values. You'll start to notice that being kinder to yourself and more forgiving becomes easier to do. I know at first it's really difficult, and I definitely have days where I just don't feel so forgiving or kind to myself. And I know that when I track my hormones, a lot of those times are when I'm closer to week 3, week 4 of my menstrual cycle, which I do talk about in another video. But the more you do things that align with your values and they push you out of your comfort zone, but the end result is always positive and it makes you feel energized and raring to go, you'll start to feel happier with yourself, and in turn you will be more forgiving if you ever have a slip up, or you give in to the self-sabotaging voice. You'll understand that, like, it's okay, this does not mean that you are set back forever and that everything you did is now being undone. It literally was just one time, and all you need to do is just jump back on it and keep going. Same thing comes with patience. So as this happens, you become a lot more patient with yourself. You understand that it's not about perfectionism. It's not about, I need to be this by this day, I need to get this done, look this way by this day. No, you start to realize, actually, that's not realistic. So I'm just going to go with the things that make me feel good, knowing that I gravitate more towards the things that make me feel good, and pressure makes me go the opposite way. It actually turns me off doing the things that I initially wanted to do. So I'm just going to be patient, I'm going to have fun with it, and I'm just going to see where it takes me. And it always, when you do it with that mindset, it always takes you to the result you end up wanting. Lastly, you feel more empowered, and you notice that the validation you've probably been seeking for a long time, you actually start to turn it inwards rather than setting it outwards. So you start to take accountability, and you start to notice what makes you feel good, what doesn't, what aligns with your values, what you want your life to be. Because we're so preoccupied about what's going to be happening in the future, how we want to look, what we want to do, what kind of job we want, what kind of house we want to live in. It's so easy for us to forget that this is the future. Like, we are making it every day now, and life is just going to go like that. And then what? We're just going to look back and be bitter and annoyed and disappointed because we didn't create the life that we wanted. Let's turn the validation inwards, and you'll notice it will start to naturally shift that way, because the more that you're doing positive things that aligns with the future version of you that you want to become, you will start to feel strengthened within yourself. You'll start to feel more you, or the you that you've wanted to create for a long time, and you will give yourself that validation. You'll start to point it less towards new relationships or family members that haven't accepted you for a long time, and you've spent so many years of your life trying to win their approval or acceptance, or even a job. These things in our lives that we feel originally validate us, but we still feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied from that validation. It doesn't last long enough. It feels like we constantly have to get it back. As we grow and develop, we will start to naturally feel that validation be met within ourselves, which is a great feeling. So if you found these tips interesting, or if you have any new ones to add, please put it down in the comment section below. And once again, please hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. Are you guilty for self-sabotage? I know I am, but I'd love to hear more about you and your stories. Is there a particular memory that comes to mind when you think about self-sabotage? Please let me know down below, and I'll speak to you in 3 days.